So the question is, today, even with searchable everything, how does a former neo-Nazi get VC funding and state money?
Then, can a robot be cute and deadly?
And the grand reopening has tech leaders kind of at odds.
I'm Alexis Cordato, and this is Future Forward.
I am Steven Rosenbaum, and let us launch. Hey, Alexa.
Hey, Steve. Happy Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day it is.
Hey, you're back in solid Wi-Fi land.
Yeah, I am.
Is it so? Did you find that, like, at first it was like, I'm in the country, it's cool, and then it's like, whoa, my internet connectivity is kind of a little wonky, and it makes you like a little sketchy after a bit. Like,
yeah, it was unworkable. So I would love to find a satellite provider so that I could get back out there, because it was nice to escape the city. But it kind of goes back to what we've talked about on the show, which is not having broadband during this time is really, really challenging. I can't imagine that there are millions of Americans who actually are not nearly as connected as we are.
Well, we're going to do a show in 3 parts today. So chapter number 1 is going to be, well, that's not chapter number 1. Fascinating. I did not save, I wrote the chapters down and I did not save them. I will read them to you, but I'm not going to be able to put them on the screen. So chapter 1 is going to be the neo-Nazi CEO. Chapter 2 is going to be cute, cuddly robots. And chapter 3 is going to be the grand reopening, sort of. And with that, we are good to go. Let's begin with this neo-Nazi story.
I had not read this until you sent it over to me, and yeah, I mean, it's just interesting. You would think in a due diligence process that people would kind of be vetting the background of a CEO, but I guess in this case, his former life just went undetected.
And to be fair, I mean, the way the headlines are written, it's not clear that, I mean, he clearly has a lot of repentance and has gotten away from that world 30 years ago, 25 years ago. So it's not like he's a closet neo-Nazi CEO today. But he's doing $20 million worth of business with the state. You would think that it wouldn't have been very hard for them to pull up his records.
Yeah. So had you heard of Banjo before this article?
I had, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I'm getting a little bit of an echo in the background. Is your speaker live?
Nope.
Fascinating. Let me come and see. Now. That might be better. You there?
Yep.
Oh, now I'm not hearing you. All right, we'll move on. Yeah, I had heard of it. It's an interesting kind of slightly invasive security protocol that listens to lots of different inputs, public data, cameras, school, and is able to, theoretically, it's a little like Minority Report. Essentially, what they're trying to do is pre-crime and let the public officials know in advance that there might be some criminality ahead. But I would, it isn't that I don't think that he should be CEO as much as I think it shouldn't have been discovered. It should have been known.
Right. It's just, when you think about VCs doing due diligence or governments and big contracts, you would just think that they're vetting the people, like people buy people at the end of the day. And so the fact that it went this long without being an issue is interesting.
Yeah, look, I've raised money a bunch of times and done a bunch of mortgages and other kind of, things that involve, dealing with banks and financial institutions, and they know everything about you. And in this case, these were criminal records. So you would think the state, in doing a $20 million contract, would have been able to type his name into, the crime database And I don't know. The only thing I don't know, and I read it twice to see if I missed it, is whether or not, because he was a youthful offender, whether or not it was somehow sealed records. Maybe.
That's
But
a crazy beard, by the way.
it's a crazy beard. And again, to be fair, I mean, if you read the desert.com article that this comes from, we'll put it in the show notes, it's kind of told a little bit upside down. He says all these really, incredible neo-Nazi, scary, anti-Semitic things. And then you find out at the end that it isn't until the end of the article that you find out that's not his belief system today. And he actually, his story, once you read it, seems a little bit less salacious. He moved out of his home when he was 15, ended up on the streets, got in with a bad crowd, did some bad things, got caught, apologized, then went and joined the military. It's had, you'd have to go back 35 years to find the bad chapter in his life. But nonetheless, for a security company, not the way you want to find out that your personal data is being operated through a company called Banjo that has a former neo-Nazi as a CEO.
Right.
That being said, it does bring me back to the thing we talked about last week, which is I've been thinking a lot about contact tracing.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I worry about a lot is that in this world in which everyone's concerned about health and safety and not wanting to get COVID, which I certainly understand, the thing is, once you give away personal privacy, you never get it back.
Yep.
And, I think we started talking 2 weeks ago about contact tracing, and I've since been trying to do every bit of reading I can on it. And it seems like there are these big promises that Apple and Google are going to somehow align themselves and be able to do but there's no granular information about how that's going to work.
Yeah, I guess so. I know you're really skeptical about it. How do you weigh the skepticism of contact tracing against, I don't know, like ad tech and like cookies, which are kind of following us around on the internet all the time?
Well, I think that's an easy differentiation for me anyway. An ad targeting me is really different than my phone telling the government I was at a meeting with XYZ other people, and they know mine. I think the whole anonymization thing goes away when they can say to you, you were in a room with these people doing this thing.
You know what? I guess maybe because I've spent an entire career targeting people on the internet, like the notion of beacon technology, for example, was so exciting once upon a time because it meant that if you were in a mall walking past a Gap, that Gap would potentially be in a position to send you a promo on your phone, right? Like it was celebrated in that context, and I don't know. I guess I'm so numb to the creepy factor of surrendering my data to Google and Facebook and Apple.
I think you're being a little bit low key as a gift to me. I think what you really mean is, Steve, get the fuck over it. People my age and younger just really don't care. Like we're way past. You've said this before, not minus the curse words, but you've essentially said like people of a certain generation just don't like. We're past believing privacy is something that's achievable. So we don't lose sleep over it.
At the end of the day, it's all perceived privacy and control. Everyone is sort of just on a spectrum. I guess where I'm actually coming from is like, how else are we going to combat this? And so I'm so desperate for a solution. And we clearly, as citizens, cannot self-regulate. And so something else has to be done.
Yeah, well, theoretically, we could count on the World Health Organization to galvanize medical information from around the world and put together wisdom and knowledge. But I believe we've essentially cut the phone lines to the World Health Organization. They're not allowed to call America anymore.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move on to chapter 2, because it's in some ways more fun than chapter 1, but it's
You love
nice.
these stories, Steve. You're such a sucker for these cute robots.
Well, sort of.
Is this one of the ones that you saw at CES? Was this in like one of the previous roundups that we've covered?
So I have petted this dog robot.
Wow.
Well, so this is why I say cute but terrifying. So this dog robot was on stage at the TED conference. It's got to be now 6 years ago, long time ago. And the thing that caught my eye, this is an article from our friends at IEEE Spectrum, and what caught my eye was the headline: Boston Dynamics gives Spot Robot even more capability with enhanced autonomy. Like, I'm sorry, what? So
you don't want a robot that's lifelike, Steve? Especially a dog one?
All right, so let me remind everyone who hasn't heard me go down this rant before. So I'm in the audience. I'm with 1,000 people, 800 people. The robot comes on stage. Clup, 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 clup. It looks around. The CEO of the company talks about it. You could feel the room go, "Oh, that's so cool. Oh, that's really fucking terrifying." It was like you could feel the wave kind of ripple through the audience when everyone imagined that little robot dog with a laser guided weapon on its head.
Yeah.
And like, there's just no way it doesn't end up there. Like, I mean, it's
very Star Wars-esque.
It is entirely and it has to be a weapon. It's not just going to be something that goes and turns on your coffee maker and brings you a cup of coffee. Like that, like that, like at the Defense Department and the Pentagon, like the idea of being able to field 1,000, little robot soldiers with no human life, and then people sitting in Utah in bunkers controlling them with joysticks is like, I mean, that meeting has happened, what, 1,000 times at the Pentagon,
right?
And they're, and even Boston Dynamics, I don't know if you remember, but it got purchased by Google and then it got spun out because even Google didn't want to own it. Like,
yeah.
So in reading this article, I mean, let's talk about the word. Did they use the word autonomous unfairly? Did you think?
No. So like, I mean, it focused on this notion that you could get it to a waypoint. So say I told the Spot dog, hey, go to I don't know, I guess go to Sheep's Meadow and you're on 86th Street. Like, my understanding is that you do not need to tell it to go walk along Central Park West and then enter on the 72nd Street entrance to Central Park and go south, that it could actually just find its way there on its own without a predetermined path.
I tried to step away so that you could speak, and in doing that, I muted myself.
Okay. I was like,
no, where did Steve go? No, I'm here. All right. So tell me, so this idea of being able to find your own way, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I mean, in the context of a cute little pet dog robot, it's a good thing. It's now a dog that you can play with in the park. It won't get lost. It won't run away. It's lifelike. In the context of a military weapon, petrifying.
All right, somewhere in the middle. Let's pick middle ground. It's an emergency response robot, and there's a building on fire, and this robot needs to go in to rescue children who are at risk.
Awesome.
The idea of awesome.
Totally awesome.
Why has the world gotten so complicated?
I mean, where was it ever really simple?
When I was young, Twinkies were good. They had a cream filling. They had spongy cake. They cost 50 cents. I don't remember there ever being. Now, of course, in hindsight, of course, Twinkies were probably terrible for you.
Right. Yeah.
Right. But no, I think there was a time when good and bad good and evil, whatever, was simpler. I mean,
Maybe it's like ignorance is bliss.
No, but I mean, like when I bought when I had a Revox reel-to-reel recorder or a Sony, television or a big DSLR camera, there was never any chance that any of those devices were going to turn around and attack me.
Right.
Like they were purpose-built machines.
Mm-hmm. I was having a conversation with someone the other day, which is like all of this technology has sort of values built into it, and it's not always obvious or clear to us as users of the technology. And so maybe that's part of what you're speaking to, the complexity, which is used to just be able to buy a product and it had utility, and it was like it either does a thing or doesn't do a thing. But now that the technology has such an implication on how we live our lives and sort of privacy considerations, I don't know, environmental considerations, psychological considerations, it adds that extra pause before you decide to use it.
So I had an experience the other day, which I'll share with you, about the complexity, relative simplicity of technology. So, we're all locked in our houses, and one of the things we're all doing is cleaning. And then we're also all, taking a look at our technology infrastructure. So I was like, you know what? I have this 27-inch iMac. It could use an upgrade. I ordered an SSD, a 2 terabyte SSD drive, and because SSD is super fast, and I ordered another 8 gigs of memory to bring it up to a massive 32 gig. So the 32 gigs of memory, you lay the thing on its stomach, you pop the little thing in the back, take out the 2 4 gig cards, you put in the 2 8 gig cards, you close it, you power it up. Abracadabra. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Next, the SSD card. Have you ever tried to replace a hard drive on an iMac?
No.
Well, it turns out what they don't tell you at either B&H or Crucial is that it's really not really user serviceable. I mean, it is, but the front screen, as it turns out, is glued on. And so they don't sell you, when they sell you the drive, the other kit you need, which with what they call a pizza cutter. Some of our listeners are now laughing, going, yeah, he's never. It's pizza cutter. You roll it around the edge of the screen. It cuts the tape. Then there's 2 suction cups to lift the screen off. Then you have to replace the drive on the inside. Then you have to put it all back together again. I was on the phone for maybe 40 minutes with B&H and another hour and 10 minutes with Crucial, or in that case, live chat, just trying to get the right devices and parts to install the thing they already sold me.
That's not surprising, because I've tried this with phones, with like an iPhone. And, Apple devices are not meant to be opened by consumers. Yeah.
So I'm going to, true confessions, just because it's only you and I and our 700-800 listeners. In the process of doing this, I did something I've never done in the gazillion years I've owned a computer or a Mac, and I erased my hard drive.
Wow. Like, did you have a backup?
No.
Oh, man. Are you okay?
So I called Apple. My experience with Apple is, for those of you who are listening regularly, is going downhill on a weekly basis. Usually you call Apple and they're like, oh, yeah, have you tried? They're like, the minute I told them what happened, they were like, yeah, there's nothing you can do about that. I'm like, really? Because my understanding is it doesn't erase the data. It just puts a check mark next to all the data saying this is available to be overwritten. But if you don't do anything, you can usually recover it. And they're like, did you use Time Machine? I'm like, I hate Time Machine. I find Time Machine to be a garbage piece of software. No. They're like, yeah, nope. They said there are 2 vendors we recommend in the United States. You have to ship them the computer and they'll do it. So I went online. I found a piece of software called Disk Drill, $70, downloaded it, left it overnight. It recovered every piece of material.
Wow. Scary. I had a motherboard issue one time, and I lost all of my stuff, and it was like my first trip to Italy, like just backups of my blogs. It's the worst feeling. I'm sorry, but I'm glad you got it back.
But there is a certain relaxation to this horrible COVID trapped at home thing, which is, you know what? I'm going to work on this for 3 hours.
Right. We all have time, right?
I have time. That's right. All right. So let's move on. We're past the scary or terrible robots, and let us move on to the third chapter, which in some ways is the most interesting, but I pushed it to last because I thought, I have this feeling that if we open with COVID, we'll never actually talk about anything else. By the way, you have a ton of headroom. Can you point your camera down just a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
there you see. We should have done that. There, look at much better. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the great reopening, the opening of, for example, Apple stores. How long is it going to be before you where would you go in next if you had to eat out at a restaurant, go to a movie theater, go to a concert, go to an Apple store, go to the dentist, get your hair done, get a tattoo, what's gonna be your first, because as we know from listening to the White House, COVID is over. We can all go back to our daily lives and spend money and not wear masks. Of course, listeners, stop. I'm being not even satirical, sarcastic. We can't do any of those things, and please don't say that I advised you to. So what do you make of Apple reopening stores?
I'm actually not worried about it. I mean, they're huge stores with very large footprints, and there are already stores that are open now, like grocery stores, CVS, Walgreens, etc. That I've gone into. I think if they require masks, they limit the amount of foot traffic or number of people in it at the same time. I don't have a problem with it.
So two things. What do you need an Apple store for that you can't do online?
So some of it is like the servicing. So actually Matt was on with Apple for about an hour and a half today because his iPad and his keyboard no longer really connect properly. After a minute and a half, the keyboard actually stops working. And so that if Apple were to reopen, it's the kind of thing where we could walk on Atlantic Avenue, like 3/4 of a mile in Brooklyn, and actually just drop off the keyboard. The alternative to that is for Apple to send us a box and we have to ship the thing and it's going to go somewhere, and then I don't know, we'll get it back.
So I'm fine with curbside drop off and pickup. I get that fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure what the imperative is to have people, so you have 50 people in the store at a time and 49 of them wear a mask and gloves, and one of them wears a mask but no gloves, and they scratch the back of their head and then they touch a keyboard and then they leave.
Mm-hmm.
And they leave and they're communicable and they don't know it. And now you've got a hotspot that's invisible, and at some point a cleaner in the middle of the night, or someone taking out the garbage, or another consumer who comes in not wearing a mask or gloves, it seems to me an unnecessary risk with little
I can see that. I mean, I guess if it were required that everyone wore masks and gloves, and then Apple employees were trained to basically wipe down surfaces after visitors picked up the devices, I could see that, because I have definitely supported some local businesses, and when I went to go check out, they're doing a Square payment, and so I have to touch the screen. They offer me hand sanitizer right there on the spot, and then immediately wipe down the screen. So I've been in a situation where I knew I was touching a surface that other people had, but the way the business owner was operating made me feel safe.
So I was out the other day walking the dogs. I was out, well, 4 blocks around and back, and I was wearing a mask and gloves. And I thought to myself, if I had to be in a job where I had to wear this mask all day from 9 till 5, except like I think I would go bloody insane. I think I literally. I mean, they're stifling. It's uncomfortable.
And we both wear glasses. It's like so annoying to have, I don't know, like I get the fog on my glasses.
Yep, they fog up.
Yeah.
I've tried all the things. I've pulled the mask down. I tried squeezing the nose clamp tighter. Still, they fog up. So there's.
Well, they might limit the hours. I guess, where I sort of, where I think like Apple or Best Buy, where there's merit to having them open before other businesses is that they are, think about the amount of screen time that we're all doing. Like out of all the things to be selling, like they actually are selling the thing that people are using every single day.
Fair enough. But by the way, we'll do it on another pod, but the new Apple iPhone that they've released the data about, that's $399. Literally, here's what amazes me about how brilliant that is. They must have known 3 years ago that the $1,000, X11 was going to be, the height of the demand curve, and to have designed and built and ordered parts and done the engineering and done the testing and have in the chain what is essentially a bargain basement iPhone that's getting rave reviews is just it's beyond brilliant. It's going to sell like mad.
Yeah.
Everyone who's got a 5, a 6, a 7, or an 8 and has been waiting, like it's going to be explosive growth. Or not growth, but because there are people that have like our 3 and 4 year old phones, and they're just like, I'm just going to wait because I don't want to spend $1,000 on a phone.
I see them out in the wild, and they look so mini. They look so small.
Yeah. So what about the Elon Musk versus Gates battle?
What aspect of it? I mean, it's so funny. Elon Musk in COVID times has like really skewed my perception of him. I used to think he was like the Tony Stark of our time, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, I think you're like maybe a little nutty professor, not quite with it. Like between his kid's name, which maybe is a joke or not a joke, but the fact that it could go either way, like AE, something like, I don't know, like it's XAE. I don't even know how to pronounce it. It's just like letters. It's like XAE something. It's like a robot name.
I didn't know that. Okay, that's weird.
But like the fact that he says that and it could actually plausibly be something he would do actually speaks to how extreme he's being as a person.
All right, so let's do this in steps. So Tesla, everyone I know that has one thinks it's just the best thing since sliced bread.
Have you been in one? I mean, they're amazing. I haven't driven one, but as a rider in them, amazing.
Amazing. I have not been in one, and I have not been a rider in one. Although I almost rented one when we were going on a trip not very long ago, then I didn't. So, and even though there's issues with parts and repairs and some other things in the, driverless vehicle part is probably not quite ready for prime time, mostly-ish is. But that being said, Rockstar, making electric cars high end and there's the new ones coming out, it's going to be affordable. Okay, fine. On the SpaceX stuff, seems to mostly be building rockets that do what they say they're going to do. That little ballet where they both landed on the pad together was chilling and wonderful. I don't quite understand the whole tunneling thing and why he thinks that's a good use of his time.
I think he was just frustrated at the government's approach to it. Like getting a shuttle made from San Francisco to LA and then the amount of time and money that was being put into the plans. He just open sourced plans for the Hyperloop and came up with a solution that was better than what the government was potentially recommending.
Okay, but then you get to where everything he said about COVID, and it does seem whatever the opposite of strategic is, like kind of batshit crazy, and not because he wants the press, right? It's not about that.
I think, I mean, you can say that there are these archetypes of brilliant people who have such a moonshot vision about the greater good or the thing that we need to leapfrog towards, and it's like change at all costs, and they're able to kind of abstract out the sort of near term damages, like the notion of potentially hundreds of thousands of people dying in service of, you know, a thriving economy. It's like it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't register. It doesn't matter to Steve Jobs that he was an absolute asshole and demanded perfection and was like, you're going to design a phone that doesn't have a QWERTY keyboard on it and a little like what's it called? What were those? Stylus, right? Like they just will things into existence and they just almost speak in like binary. Like it has to be this way because of course.
So by the way, as we're chatting on Facebook, my friend Alexi Folger tells us that Elon Musk's baby name is XAEA-12.
Yeah. It's like named after he and his partner's favorite plane.
How do you know?
I thought this was like an Onion article when I first saw it.
So how does that work when your kid goes to school? Hey X, maybe.
I mean, there are very, very, very funny Twitter memes. If you like, it like
See,
this is what the fight's gonna sound like between Elon Musk and his baby, and then it's like two robots and like dial-up sounds. Like there are very, very funny memes about this.
All right. Well, Lexi, thank you, and I think this might have to be a whole show, just like tech leaders and kooky baby names and rock star baby names. Going back to, obviously, Michael Jackson naming his daughter Blanket or son? Daughter, I think, is Blanket.
Yeah. I don't know.
In any case, we're out of time. That was a really fun show. Everybody stay safe, stay indoors. Don't watch bad media. It's bad for your brain. And we will be back again next week or maybe sooner. Who knows?
See you.
See ya. Bye. Hold on, wait. Don't leave. I've lost the button. Where's the button? Here we go. Come on. Bye.